It's loading. Good morning. Welcome everyone to another Wednesday morning miracle moments. I really feel like from Sunday to Wednesday and Wednesday to Sunday is a long freaking time. Even though we get here fast, I miss these calls on Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays and Sundays. There are way too many days where we aren't joined here together to remember peace and remember love. I do spend some time, not as much as I do on Wednesdays and Sundays, on A Course in Miracles. You know, I read something about it every single day. But yeah, we are studying this book right here. For those of you guys that don't know what this is all about, we study a book called A Course in Miracles. And I've been studying this for, I don't know, I gotta be over 7 years now, or 7-ish years. I've been teaching it on Zoom for 5-ish. So, yeah, if you want to join into the WhatsApp group or be on our Zoom for the live chats, feel free to just DM me if you're on social media and ask for that. But I'm just really glad to be here this morning. And what's on my mind? What's on my mind is I want to go through a book that I have actually started writing. And I think the title is going to be, Had You Had Faith, You Wouldn't Need a Miracle. And, you know, the beginning of the book and the premise of the book, I think, is going to be about like your greatest calling and the version of you that is divine is already created, and the blueprint of that already exists. So your highest form of expression, your greatest good, hold on, let me let them in. The greatest good of you, the best version you can think of, that blueprint is, first of all, not something that we create. It is something that already exists within us. We just have to discover it. We have to remember it. We have to find a way to download it. And the whole book is going to be really, how do we download this blueprint? What are the practices? What are the mindsets? What's the operating system that we have to switch inside us so that we may download the greatest version of us, so that we may live into the fullest, into our deepest and fullest purpose. Okay, hold on. Letting people in. Now, the way we do that is like in our world, we are constantly being pulled to external things, right? Something else outside is wrong. Somebody else is wrong. And we constantly battle those things, and we look for these outside material things and things of the physical world that the Course calls our false idols. We make God of these things. And each time, because it isn't God and it isn't the truth, it fails us and it leads us into more disappointments, right? And nothing ever in our life has lasted forever. So we kind of live in this natural skepticism of this physical world. And how do we shift out of that? You know, we become disconnected from our true purpose. We get, like I said, get caught up in the pursuit of external things. And sometimes life is going to slap us and we'll have wake-up calls. I'll be like, oh yeah, my wife is important. Oh yeah, my family is important. Oh yeah, my time is important. My joy and my happiness is important. And then we go chasing those things again. So the motto, if you remember nothing from today's call and you're here for the whatever time that you are here, remember this: the ego is constantly seeking, and the motto for the ego is seek but do not find. Seek but don't find. Okay, it will give you little pieces of happiness, little pieces of joy, but it doesn't really want to find it, right? So, yeah, that's going to be the opening of our book. And if we really think about our lives, we're always praying and wishing for something that we think will serve us, we think will make us happy. And the feeling of happiness, and we've been going through this last couple calls, is that the feeling of happiness is literally paper thin. Now, we might be like, oh no, that doesn't sound good. But you know what? The feeling of depression and sadness and anger and unworthiness and fear, they're also paper thin. And the way that we can train our minds is, where do we focus? Here is one law of the Creator, the law of God, is that where you put your attention to, that continues to grow, and that becomes real for you. Although it's not real, it's not reality with a capital R, it is your reality. And because it is your separate reality, you buy into it and you believe it. And you're giving it strength. Nothing that we teach, nothing that we speak of, we don't somehow believe in. And that's why the Course says, you will teach no matter what. But what will you teach? What will the conversations you have with people? What are you inviting into your life in terms of those conversations? Right? And it's easy. We can just start paying attention. Awareness. We bring our awareness to the conversations that we're having. What am I attracting? Because what I'm attracting, I have made real and I have advertised it. I can have conversations with people all day about money struggles. And if that's all I'm having conversations about, people, when they think about a struggle, see, we want to bond. We want to bond with others. We just don't know how to bond with others yet. And this is what the Course is teaching us. We can either success bond and happiness bond, or we can trauma bond. Okay, this is what the Course says. These are just like there's only one. You can bond with someone in any given moment through joy or through fear. When you look upon the world, there are only two perceptions. It is to see it with love, or it is to see it with fear. In every moment, those are your only two choices. And they are a choice. You are not a victim to it. They are a choice. But just know there's nothing in between. Right? So, yeah. And the book kind of goes more into, as I'm writing it right now, it goes into like faith. Right? We've all asked for something. And the way we ask it is we're like, dear God, please have this happen. Right? And we're asking for something. But in that asking, what's happening is we're asking and we are placing lack. We are speaking into the lack of something, which inherently we are not. So since God is like, dude, there is no lack. You're asking to fulfill a perceived lack, but there is no lack. How do we respond? We respond by showing you, by giving you lack or perceived lack so that you can perceive it differently. We got to keep giving it to you. Your perception, we got to feed that perception until the moment you say there must be another way. You're tired of your thoughts about it. And you're like, you know what? There's got to be another way. God, just show me the other way. See, that's the question. Show me another way to look at my perceived lack so that it could be filled, it could be healed. Healing is through that. There is no lack. Healing is to remember that there is whole. And the way we do it, again, it comes back to that law of what we project and what we believe to be real in our mind. We have to train it. This perceived lack doesn't really exist. But you can speak life into it. You can believe it, and it becomes real for you. Although again, it's not reality. It's not reality with a capital R. So, as we are in chapter 7, every one of these calls is designed to paint a portion of the image, the completed portrait that we are painting. And every chapter, every word, every paragraph can give us glimpses to it because they are whole on their own. Just like every individual is whole on their own. So if you're like, man, I'm just tuning in right now and Alex is on chapter 7, section 6, maybe I gotta wait till we start over again. No, you don't need to do that. We can simply allow things to just speak to us. This is the way we download. We download by opening our hearts and our minds, and we remove and relinquish judgment. So kind of just going over a little bit of a recap of chapter 7, section 5, which is healing and the changelessness of the mind. Changelessness of the mind. The Course defines the truth and knowledge as in it doesn't change. It is changeless. It is eternal. So if you think about your feelings, maybe you're going through some sort of depression or you're going through some sort of doubt and uncertainty, you can find comfort in the fact that, okay, the definition of truth is that it is eternal and never changes. Does my feelings change? When different external circumstances show up, do my feelings change about it? And if it does, that means this is a temporary thing. It isn't the truth. And we can begin by gauging that with ourselves. Okay, one of the great teachings of the Course for me, the lessons, is to recognize what is true and what are my stories. Because oftentimes we get confused. We get confused and we make our stories the truth. We make our stories of money is hard to make. Love is dangerous. People are untrustworthy. I am always blank. My family members are always blank. Right? Those are not the truth. They are not the truth, y'all. So, here is a code from the last section, which I love. The unhealed healer. We had a conversation around this, and I wouldn't even put too much emphasis on this unhealed healer, because as soon as we say unhealed healer, you're starting to think the ego is like, who is an unhealed healer? The ego begins to weaponize it. So I would just take that and put it in the neutral bucket. Okay? Unhealed healer. It's just a word. Okay. The word in the bucket wants gratitude from his brothers, but is not grateful to them. That is because he thinks he is giving something to them and is not receiving something equally desirable in return. How many times, think about all of our own relationships. We're like, but I'm giving this and you're not giving something equally desirable in return. But the thing is this desirable thing in return is up to your own perception. Is the ego deciding if it's desirable? Now, if you get it every single day, every day it becomes less desirable to the ego. The first statement, like, oh my God, it's so amazing. Oh my God, you cooked breakfast. And then if breakfast is every day, the ego's like, we're eating the same shit again. This. And then we start to magnify our own giving. And this is why the ego is crazy. In the beginning, when you first meet somebody, you give them all the power too. Right? Anything they do is like, oh my God, I'm so grateful for it. And as time goes on, see, the practice is because the awareness and the consciousness of the present moment is gone. We pull on the past. Oh, it's just the same thing again. Right? So we think that we are not receiving something of equally desirable in return. So in that, the moment we start to compare those two things, our teaching becomes limited and we begin to teach confusion. Claudia, welcome. And so last section is all about healing and the changelessness of the mind. Okay, what is healing? Healing is to remember. Remember right now, the present moment. Everything else we start to taint this moment. We start to dilute the power and the magic of the present moment, the miracles in here. Easier said than done. This is why we need practice. We need devotion. And so for you guys that are joining, thank you from the bottom of my heart that we are on this journey together right now, today. Thank you for being here. We could be anywhere, right? Especially in August. August, around this time, there are so many things going on. Kids going back to school. It's the last vacation, whatever. But you guys are here on this journey with me. And my babeski is here. The unicorn has shown up. It is going to be a magical day, everybody. We're going to open real quick. Again, another opening. I'm just opening over and over. I'm going to open with a read real quick from A Year of Miracles by Marianne Williamson. She is such a wordsmith, and oh, this is a good one. I'm going to read just this paragraph of it. And so yeah, take it in. Open your hearts, open your mind. And then we'll go into some shares. And then we'll read. Day 75 on aging. I don't know why I opened to the page of aging. But if we don't exercise our bodies, then our muscles begin to constrict. If we don't exercise our minds, then our attitudes begin to constrict. Nothing constricts our life experiences like the constriction of our thoughts. It limits our possibilities and it limits our joy. We have all seen people who have aged with sorrow. We've seen others as well who have aged with joy. It's time to intend to age with joy, deciding that the joy of youth is a good kind of joy, but it's not the only kind. In fact, there is a joy in knowing that after all these years, we've finally grown up. I like that. That's a good section right here. We are going to age with joy, y'all. Okay, I will open for shares to start. What is alive in you guys today? Who would like to steer the ship? Who would like to share anything? Also, there are some people on this call that we haven't seen in a while, so welcome back. And we have our regulars here.
I guess I could share.
Great.
I have been, to say the least, a little bit frustrated over the last little while. Trying to, using the word try, that's a great one. I've been speaking with a lawyer and working towards finding a path, a quicker path to getting to the States, and they opened up an EB3 visa apparently for construction workers. that I spoke with the immigration lawyer, and she basically said, no, that's not an option. It takes like 3 to 4 years before you can even get there. And that's not the information that I found on the internet. So I'm like, I just wasn't sure if she had the right information. So I don't know. Something inside me just said, no, I'm not gonna stop trying. I'm gonna maybe get a second opinion or even a third opinion and figure that out. Uh, I'm not willing to give up on this path
Hmm.
to get myself down to the States from Canada.
Yeah. Um, there's definitely solutions. Now, are you just trying to permanently be here, or what's
So
the?
I looked at a couple different options. The E2B visa, which gives me 9 months at most, 6 to 9 months, but that's a temporary solution,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which doesn't solve the being there and being present for my daughter. So I was like, no, I really feel like there's a way through that EV3 visa for construction workers, because it literally says on the list that, fast food restaurants, this, that, the other, and then construction workers were on there. And I was like, well, that's my jam, right?
Hmm.
Like, so I got really excited. And then when I talked to the lawyer yesterday, I was kind of like a little bit deflated, but then I was like, no, I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna let this deflate me. I'm gonna get a second opinion. So I need to find uh, like a really good uh, lawyer for immigration for that to really have a good conversation, because she started saying stuff and I didn't even understand half of what she said, and
Mm-hmm.
and she spoke so fast, and I was like, whoa. So yeah, for a moment I kind of allowed some thoughts of lack to come in, and then I was like, no, not gonna let that happen. I'm not gonna do that again. I'm not gonna play that record. So yeah, that's what's alive for me right now.
Yeah, amazing. And here is the true power and the true miracle that exists in your situation right now is what happens if it doesn't go your way, right? What happens if there is no solution for it?
There's always a solution.
I know, but I'm just saying, what happens if you don't get it your way? What happens if it's not in the timeline and the time frame in which you can get what you want?
That would make it very well. Then I would just continue the traveling every 3 months to see my daughter for a
Mm-hmm.
month. That's not being present for her. That's not. I don't know. That would make me really sad
Yeah.
for her. You know.
Uh-huh. So there is a way to be present still. Like you can be present without it's not in time, right? It's not in the amount of time. We think it's all in the amount of time. Like, if I'm just there every single day, then we'll be happier. Then she'll grow up better. Like we make up all these stories, right? Like even the tiny amount of time spent with somebody with true presence can make a world of difference. Now, the reason why I ask you this question is because we all go through this on some form. If I can just have it my way, then I'll be at peace. So let's just say you get it your way, and now you're in the States for good. Okay, you don't have to leave or anything. Do you think you now will have eternal peace from it? Are you just content and satisfied forever? You won't have any more problems. You won't have any more upsets.
I don't think that there won't be any upsets or problems, but it's just the way you look at it, right? And I think if you perceive things, it's all what I've learned with you and with Adam and Claudia and Eric, and how you guys have changed my ability to see things. I just really don't believe that there's a definitive no in the world anymore.
Yeah. I mean, there's always possibilities. This physical world has no like absolute certainties. from like matter itself. There's no absolute certainties. We're always discovering new things, Now, the reason why I'm asking you this question is because if you don't get it your way, right? Is it possible to still have peace? Is it still possible to be joyful? Is it still
Yeah.
possible for all of that? Like this is the choice now. The choice for us is which one do I entertain? Which one do I give power over me? Right? Because you will create more of whichever one you give power to. You're strengthening it, right? Like going to the gym, you're going to either train this unhappy thought or you're going to train that I accept. Like effortless effort, effortless action. What does that mean? The greatest good that could possibly be for this whole situation, for you, for your daughter, and for the whole world, already exists. Now you can decide, no, it's best. It's best for me, for her, and the whole world that I become a permanent resident here in the States. And because I believe that, if it doesn't go my way, I get upset. Right? And we can relate this to all other areas of our lives. I need to have this happen, then I'll be happier. The goal is, like you said earlier, the prayer is show me a different way to look at it.
Yeah.
Right? Show me that this is not a lack. Show me that the answers that I'm hearing that I'm not happy with, a different way to look at it. Show me how to trust deeper. Show me how to have more faith. I don't really know what's in my own best interests. But God, you know. So in that level of, I don't want to say contentment, but acceptance, then you won't blow up on people, right? You won't get upset at the immigration attorneys. You won't blame people. You won't take your energies, you won't project onto others. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
there is ways. Now, pursue what you believe, is possible for you, but the way in which we do it is what truly matters. Right? Can I do it with peace? Or do I go with a sword and find the solution that way? Does it bring you peace and joy? Claudia wants to chime in. Go ahead, my friend.
Yes. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Fraser. I
Hi.
just, I was going to share something totally different, but with your share, I just want to share something for peace of mind, right? So about the kids, I have a boy and a girl, right? So at this point, my girl is out of my life right now by her choice, and because of because of that, I feel that we all parents have, it, as divorced parents, right? And you're in one space, and her mom is in another space with her. And it is important for the kids to have mommy for a certain amount of years because that's the bonding that it happens, and then that steps up completely after that. So to give you a peace of mind on time, she needs more mommy right now, even though you're still present to her. It is important for her to know that daddy is present, that the masculine and male energy is present to her. But at the same time, your role is going to start on girls start happening around 12 years old. So when they start their pre-puberty and they start having like this, they want to disidentify from mom. They don't want to be like mom, and they have all these things. And then you can step on it. So you still have time. And then my other part is the immigration process. I never thought that I was going to live in the United States. For me, it was all I was brought here. I was living in Mexico before, and I was on my way back to Venezuela, and start political start changing there, and I decided to stay in the United States. I came with a student visa, and then I found a sponsor who requested me, and dentistry is not in the books, like something that are looking here, and it found a way to my boss at that time sponsorship me, right? So they request me, so I changed to a work visa, and then other things came after. So like Alex say, and we're practicing a lot, is to be present right in this moment. I'm just giving you faith, faith for what it could happen in the future. But right now, to be present, what you can do at this moment, and yeah, you can have a second opinion with another attorney because she's not the only one of the group that you have, not only one. So that I want to give you that little peace of mind for that. Um, and and thank you for sharing that. And I want to share what is present for me. So what is present for me too is this little all the spaces where we're talking about like what is an illusion or what is not an illusion, and what is truth and what is not truth. There's so many information, right? So much information out there that it gives so much room to, like Alex said, just create what you want to create. Just call it in whatever you want to create, because everything is possible. But it and surrender what it doesn't have to be my way. So when it doesn't is not in my way, I have to step aside and be in peace with that and take a big breath. I know it's easier to say than done it and feeling it. And again, you're not alone. That's the beauty of having a community, the beauty of having all these connections that you have creating, that you call in and woo-hoo, miracles were here, and you're not doing this alone. And that doesn't have a price, right? It doesn't have a price. So I just wanted to share that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Um, light and love is present at all times. It is literally at present. It's present even when we shut the lights off in our mind. Right? And what we end up doing is when darkness enters, we fight. We resist the darkness, and we think we can beat the darkness with a baseball bat. We try to beat it. And then we project it onto others, and we're like, okay, well, if it's on you, then I can beat it. Right? If I can see the darkness in you, then I'll be able to beat the darkness. Yes, that is the way that we behave. Now, it's the same exact thing with the light. But the light is the truth that doesn't need to fight. When you turn the switch back on, darkness just disappears. How do you turn the switch on? You turn the switch on by looking to the light in others. Looking to the light in situations that you see darkness and challenges and pain. It is a choice to see it. The way we see it is we see Christ's consciousness and God's plans in it. This is how we truly find peace in all the situations. That it's so perfect. This is part of this blueprint. For me to see, for me to have clarity around this thing that triggers me, this person that triggers me. It's bringing me pain. If I can see the light in it, that is how you find the blueprint. And we have that opportunity every day with people in our lives, especially your significant others, especially the people closest to you, your kids. Right? Like how often do we call upon something external to give us like joyful experiences? They're nice. They're temporarily nice. But the more we do that, the more we also give, because you're giving the power over to something that doesn't have power. We've created the meaning. If I'm saying, man, if I get to spend more time playing video games with my kid, then I will be more joyful. If my kid is excited, then I will be more joyful. If I get something my way, then I'll be more joyful. If we can stop arguing, if we can stop fighting, if we can stop complaining, then I'll be more joyful. And then, yes, moments of no complaints and all of that temporarily happens. I'm like, yes, this is what I'm talking about. But all we did, see, the ego is super clever right there. The ego goes, yes, we'll give that to you. But you know what? What you've done is you've given your power over to this thing. And so at any given point, it can be taken away. See, the teacher of God, miracle workers, knows that the same light of the external world exists internally. There is no separation from it. That means the healing of the world and the healing of others gets to be healed inside us. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is everything that we see, every emotional feeling that we have about something outside, we can call it back and say, that's my experience. I've made something real that may not be real. I've given my power over to something that doesn't have power. See, this is what the Course says. It's about seeing the illusions of the effects of something over us. And that's why forgiveness is our most powerful tool. Now, forgiveness, not like I forgive you and I condone what you're doing, but I forgive this situation for giving it the power that it does not have over me. Forgiveness is to remove the emotional feelings, the power that I thought it had over me, that it doesn't. Now, somebody can break your heart, betray you, stab you in the back, but I've also given them the power to have that over me. Right? I have an idea, my truth about how something should be done, how a relationship should be done, how a partnership should be done, how my family members should conduct themselves around me, how my coworkers should behave. We have all sorts of stories. And when the world does not align to those stories, it's not our fault, it's their fault. I've set the line, I've made the rules. And that's how we've disconnected from the blueprint and from our greatest, highest calling potential. We've set the rules. And then just think about how absurd that is. Last week we read about the relinquishment of judgment. It's not that you shouldn't judge. It's that you can't even judge. Right? That in order to judge, you would have to have such a wide range of knowledge of all the past, how this decision would influence the past, present, and future, and all those that are involved forever and ever. And that you must be so holy and pure that you have zero biases. Okay, if you have all of that, then by all means judge. But since we don't, we make judgments. We make a judgment. Okay, here's the analogy, I guess, in my mind. We look into a room through a little peephole. We judge the entire room based off of the tiny little image that we see of that room. Do you think you are even capable of judging at that point if that's all you see? And so it's not that we have an illusion of giving up. We give up the illusion that we can even judge at all. Now we are judging. Every one of us will have 1,000 opportunities to look at us judging throughout the day. Just watch the news. Go on social media. Look at another person. The awareness to our judgment is the key to our freedom. Is the key to the blueprint. The key to go into that room is to relinquish, to stop looking through the peephole and judging, but to completely be open. So, today we are going to go into chapter 7, section 6. Vigilance, from vigilance to peace. Up to this point, we've talked about peace. We've talked about the vigilance for the kingdom. Okay? The kingdom is not something that is outside. It's not just something that is inside. It is. We are all a part of it. Outside, inside, everywhere. Vigilance for the kingdom is to see that all parts of the kingdom is the kingdom. You, me, my dog, the animals, the house, every single thing that your eyes see is part of this kingdom. And it is not out of place. Everything is in perfect harmony right now. Whatever discord that you may have, whatever challenge you may have, they are all in the perfect place. You having something, you not having something, it's all perfect. That's the key right there, is to be in full acceptance. Now, of course, we're going to swing back and forth to, well, this doesn't really serve me. This doesn't. Everything is here to serve you. There is nothing that is not happening in your life that is not serving you. So maybe we can begin to shift that by saying, this doesn't serve me. It is either it's serving you or it's showing you that it doesn't have the meaning that you think it does. Everything is designed to serve you and an opportunity for you to remember yourself and to remember the kingdom. And the kingdom is gauged. This present moment is gauged through the level of peace that we have. The level of peace that we have is reflected by how much peace you teach. How much peace you teach directly reflects to how much peace is in your mind. Everything points back to the training of your thoughts. So that's what the course in this section we're going to go into, from vigilance to peace. Let's see how long this section is. Not very long, it's 2 pages. We will read this section, and as we read, the invitation for you all is, don't compare it to anything. Don't try to relate it to something. Don't try to find some sort of enlightenment from it. We don't need to try anything here. We open our minds and open our hearts completely, so that we just let things be. We let the thoughts come, and then we say hi to it, and then we say bye to it. And whatever is meant to come, it will come. Okay? As I read, you might think about business. As I read, you might think about your children, your parents, your coworkers. You know, there's no right way to understand what it is that we're going to read here. But give yourself the opportunity to really hear. The words behind the words. Right, Jess? Okay. So, from vigilance to peace, section 6. Although you can love the sonship only as one, you can perceive it as fragmented. It is impossible, however, to see something in part that you will not attribute to all of it. That is why attack is never discrete and why it must be relinquished entirely. If it is not relinquished entirely, it is not relinquished at all. Fear and love, make or create, depends on whether the ego or the Holy Spirit begets or inspires them. But they will return to the mind of the thinker and they will affect his total perception. That includes his concept of God, of his creation and of his own. He will not appreciate any of them if he regards them fearfully. He will appreciate all of them if he regards them with love. The mind that accepts attack cannot love. This is a great distinction right here. Attack and love never occupies the same space. They can't. They're complete opposites in every single way. They have no common ground. The vision of a dangerous world costs you the vision of a loving world, and vice versa. That is because it believes it can destroy love and therefore does not understand what love is. So this is a mind of an attack, a mind of judgment, a mind of the ego. If it does not understand what love is, it cannot perceive itself as loving. This loses the awareness of being, induces the feelings of unreality, and results in utter confusion. Your thinking has done this because of its power, but your thinking can also save you from this because its power is not of your making. Your ability to direct your thinking as you choose is part of its power. If you do not believe you can do this, you have denied the power of your thought and thus rendered it powerless in your belief. The ingeniousness of the ego to preserve itself is enormous, but it stems from the very power of the mind the ego denies. This means that the ego attacks This means that the ego attacks what is preserving it, which must result in extreme anxiety. That is why the ego never recognizes what it is doing. It is perfectly logical but clearly insane. The ego draws upon the one source that is totally inimical to its existence for its existence. Wow, these words are hard to read for me right now. So let me just put it into more plain words to understand. Is the ego knows the power of the mind, but the ego doesn't understand. It thinks that to preserve itself, first it relies on the power of love and the laws of God, and then it tries to manipulate and use it. But because it is completely insane, it doesn't know how to use it, and because it uses it in the wrong way, it makes you confused and it creates anxiety for you. Because some things make sense and some things don't. We go into every time if I do this, then this happens. But then that is also not true. So, I'll just use an example from earlier, right? Claudia said, after the age of 12, then you matter. Like then your impact becomes more real, right, Fraser? And yes, it can serve some cases, and it's true in some senses, but it's also not truth with a capital T. Because I'm sure we can find evidence that the reverse is true. We can, I'm sure, find evidence that kids that have their mother from the start and have their fathers later, that they don't turn out to be great for a while, that they still have problems, right? Or kids that don't have their mothers from the start also turn out to be great. And then some that have mothers from the start turn out to be shit. We can't find that consistency in this world. This is why the ego uses everything in such a way that creates just more confusion and anxiety. And of course, that's why we are so anxious about life. Produces extreme anxiety. We don't know where to place our faith. Fearful of perceiving the power of the source, it is forced to depreciate it. This is the ego. This threatens its own existence, a state which it finds intolerable. Remaining logical but still insane, the ego resolves this completely insane dilemma in a completely insane way. It does not perceive its existence as threatened by projecting the threat onto you and perceiving your being as non-existent. This ensures its continuance if you are to side with it, by guarantee that you will not know your own safety. The ego cannot afford to know anything. Knowledge is total. The ego does not believe in totality. This unbelief is its origin. And while the ego does not love you, it is faithful to its own wow, all these words. Begetting as it was begotten. Mind always produces as it was produced. Produced by fear, the ego produces fear. This is its allegiance, and this allegiance makes it treacherous to love because you are love. Love is your power, which the ego must deny. It must also deny everything this power gives you because it gives you everything. No one who has everything wants the ego. Its own maker then does not want it. Rejection is therefore the only decision the ego could possibly encounter. If the mind that made it knew itself, and if it recognizes any part of the sonship, it would know itself. Just like if you can grasp any part of what this course is saying right now, any pieces of it, you would know the whole thing because every part is whole. Now, the course does go back and forth, and that's why sometimes it's hard to read. It's like, no one who has everything wants the ego. Its own maker then does not want it, right? It kind of keeps going back and forth in this circle, but it makes a lot of sense. It doesn't make sense to the ego because the ego is trying to, understand it. The ego is trying to follow the loop, but the loop keeps going in this circle. So seek but do not find is the ego's model. It can't totally be in love. It must say there are exceptions. See, love is total. But the ego's looking for exceptions because if there is no exception, then the ego doesn't exist. Every one of our problems comes from fragmentation, from separation. Every single problem that we can think of comes from separation. Comes from the fact that I don't think I can trust somebody. That my happiness rests in this person. That my anger is because of this person. Right? All of our problems come from that we think there is separate selves. Yes? Anybody want to share anything?
Let's listen and I'll talk later.
The ego, therefore, opposes all appreciation, all recognition, all sane perception, and all knowledge. It perceives their threat as total because it senses that all commitments the mind makes are total. Forced, therefore, to detach itself from you, it is willing to attach itself to anything else. But there is nothing else. The mind can, however, make up illusions, and if it does, so it will believe in them because that's how it made them. The Holy Spirit undoes illusions without attacking them because he cannot perceive them at all. They therefore do not exist for him. Okay, so the Course demonstrates and shares a lot of how the Holy Spirit sees things. Right? The Holy Spirit sees you as perfect, as the innocent child of God in one hand, and the other hand knows that you've made up all these things. That's why the Holy Spirit can be the median between the kingdom and you. But knowing that all the things you perceive isn't true, isn't really real. It's kind of like us. If I see, like if you see your child having a nightmare or a dream, you know it's not really happening. Now imagine like your kid has a nightmare about, I don't know, monsters and dragons, and you're the parent. You're like, oh my God, we got to go and deal with that. And you start to bring the kid to therapy and try to fix the problem that the kid had a dream about dragons and monsters, and you're afraid that it's going to cause some kind of problem. See, the Holy Spirit is like us watching like our child, like having that nightmare. It's like, okay, well, it's not true. But the moment that if the Holy Spirit is like, okay, let's go address that, it makes it more real. Right? And we kind of do the same thing. There are illusions. There are things that we do that we make real that isn't real. And if we start to emphasize and address it and make it more real for ourselves, it only gets more real. Giving it over and say, hey, Holy Spirit, since you know the awakened state, and I'm obviously in a dream state, here you go, you take it. It relieves us of the responsibility and the burden of it. As I said before, the Holy Spirit perceives the conflict exactly as it is, and it is meaningless. The conflicts that we have, the Holy Spirit is like, yeah, that's great. It need not be, but have fun with it. At some point, you're going to come back to me and say there must be another way. That's how the entire course was written. Our downloads come from surrendering. How interesting. Our downloads do not come from forcing the download. Our downloads come from surrendering to what is and accepting what is. It's a very interesting concept. Wait, so you mean I get everything by doing nothing? By not forcing? I thought I had to plow my way to get things my way. And the course is like, yeah, well, it already exists. Everything that is your way, the best thing that could be for you, it's already right here, right now. You're just not seeing it because you want something else. You desire something other than what is. And that's the ego. The ego's looking for something that it thinks you don't have, like outside of you. The Holy Spirit does not want you to understand conflict. He wants you to realize that because conflict is meaningless, it is not understandable. Don't try to understand the conflict. Don't try to understand confusion. Don't try to create a solution for it, because that creates more conflict and more confusion. Does that make sense? Like, it's just accepting what is what creates the peace. Trying to create a solution for confusion creates more confusion. But giving the confusion up is how you let go of it. As I have already said, understanding brings appreciation. Appreciation brings love. Nothing else can be understood because nothing else is real, and therefore nothing else has meaning. So the distinction of understanding and, I guess, analyzing, like you don't have to, like, understanding with a capital U is to know. That understanding and that knowing comes from inside. It's already there. We draw upon our knowing. We cultivate and nurture our knowing. Right? We know we know. We know that we know. When we recognize and we hear truth, it draws us to it. When we see people in their complete passion, full of self-expression. We're like, wow, this person is so beautiful, no matter what they do. No matter what you do. That's why art and creativity is such a beautiful thing to witness. People being fully expressed. But when we can see and sense that people are trying to please, we're like, that's not that beautiful. Right? Because there's a pretending there. So giving it all over. Because the judgment always starts from yourself. From you to you. The Course says to receive or to see attack is to attack first. If you believe that your brothers and sisters can hurt you, you have already attacked them first. You have already placed the judgment on them first, that they can and they want to hurt you. All perceived attack begins from you. All judgments that you think are cast upon you begins from you onto them first. That's why so many conversations we have with people. I just had a conversation with a brother this morning. It seems like it's a mirror. Right? The conversations we have with people, and I just had it last night with my wife about accountability. We're talking about, okay, well, let's be grateful. Let's take accountability for our own actions. And my go-to is to throw it and weaponize it onto her like she should take more accountability. And then the conversation goes back and forth to who's taking responsibility, who's taking accountability, and who's not. We're playing the bad guy now. See, because we've just assigned blame. And so it looks, the conversation is always mirroring what we're complaining about. Like we complain about someone else complaining. That's literally you complaining about it. It's like, stop complaining. Well, stop complaining that they're complaining. That is one way to draw it back to ourselves. That's why the Course says the teacher of God knows you need do nothing. You're upset right now at somebody. That's your own shit. You go and project this upset onto them, you're just going to mirror the same thing back to you. If you're willing to look, and if you have the awareness and the consciousness to look in that moment, you know that this is your own conversation. Nothing that someone else says or does will ultimately bring peace and lay peace to that unrest that you have in you. That's going to be up to you. Okay? If you have darkness or judgment in you about something, nothing somebody says you will even believe anyways. They can shine the light all over and you just see it as an attack on yourself. And the Course says you love what you made. You made the darkness and you love it and you believe in it. But there's a better way. It's to let go of your own control on what you think is truth. That is not truth. Truth belongs to God. Truth belongs to the kingdom. Truth belongs to love. The Holy Spirit knows the truth for you. The more we can practice giving it over, especially in the most challenging times. You know, I've shared on our recent calls of some of the financial challenges that I've faced and some of our deals have faced. And it's like, those things being solved does not bring peace to me. I have an opportunity to call upon peace and then deal with those problems and challenges. Right? It's an opportunity to keep giving it over and practice. God, show me a different way to look at it. Show me peace instead of this. That's what I'm not asking for the solutions. I'm not asking for $1 million or $10 million to solve these problems. because then all I'm doing is magnifying the problems. But if I truly look, the problem is that I am not accepting something that is for my own best good. So show me a different way to look at it. And then our thoughts, our mind creates form outside, manifests form outside. The world follows our thoughts. If you will keep in mind that the Holy Spirit offers you, what the Holy Spirit offers you, you cannot be vigilant for anything but God and His kingdom. The only reason you find this hard to accept is because you still think that there is something else. Belief does not require vigilance unless it is conflicted. If it is, there are conflicting components within it that have led to a state of war, and vigilance has therefore become essential. So, vigilance, from vigilance to peace is this chapter, right? So, right now, because you are conflicted and because your thoughts are at war with each other, vigilance for one side is necessary. Vigilance has no place in peace. Okay, so just like when we return back to the kingdom, we don't need a Course in Miracles. We don't need any of these tools anymore. They're really nothing, right? This is what the Course says. These things are nothing. It is a practice, but it isn't anything. It's meaningless in the kingdom. All of your concepts, every single one of them, is meaningless when you're already being, when you are in heaven, when you are in the kingdom. You don't need any of it because there is no conflict there. You don't need to learn anything. You don't need the Holy Spirit. You don't need any of that once you're there. But since we are not there and we are in a state of conflict, then we got to be vigilant for something. So that's why the Course right now says, okay, well, you need to be vigilant, but vigilance has no place in peace. And you're like, what? What'd you just say to me, Course? I don't know what you're saying. But the Course jumps back and forth in time, not in timeline, but in being. Since we are being of this physical world right now, there are tools to use. God takes the last step. All right, that means your job is to find peace. To find peace. And that opportunity comes in a moment-to-moment basis. It is necessary against beliefs that are not true and would never have been called upon by the Holy Spirit if you did not believe the untrue. When you believe something, you have made it true for you. When you believe what God does not know, your thoughts seem to contradict His, and this makes it appear as if you are attacking Him. I have repeatedly emphasized that the ego does believe it can attack God and tries to persuade you that you have done this. If the mind cannot attack, the ego proceeds perfectly logically to the belief that you must be a body. Okay, here is that, like, all of your problems come from the fact that you think you are a body, that you are. This is the ultimate evidence that we are separate from each other. You are a body. I am an Alex body. You are a Fraser body, right? Paula body. Like, we think we are bodies, and these bodies we give identities to. And we made it up, right? Your identity is love, but you've made up yourself as this real estate person, as an A Course in Miracles teacher, as a good friend, as a brother, as a daughter, as a as a brother and a daughter, as a brother, as a son. You know, all the stories that we have attached. And the Course says, the idea of you, okay, the identity of you is an idea to be let go of. Whoa, I don't like that. By not seeing you as you are, it can see itself as it wants to be. Aware of its weakness, the ego wants your allegiance, but not as you really are. The ego therefore wants to engage your mind in its own delusional system, because otherwise the light of your understanding would dispel it. It wants no part of truth because the ego itself is not true. If truth is total, the untrue cannot exist. Commitment to either must be total. They cannot coexist in your mind without splitting it. If they cannot coexist in peace, and if you want peace, you must give up the idea of conflict entirely and for all time. It's a total giving up. You cannot have peace and hold conflict anywhere in your heart and your mind. That means you must be vigilant for something. You're either going to fight for problems, attack, illusions, separation, fear, doubt. You're either going to say those things are true, exist for you and for the world, and that you are a body, or you're going to believe that only love exists. Only spirit exists. Only the kingdom exists. Only peace exists. You cannot be, it's not like you can have both. It's one or the other. Now the ego's like, okay, fine. I will let you have that. These are two things that exist and you got to choose between one. But here is how the ego creates confusion. The ego says, well, sometimes you can have this. Sometimes that's true. And sometimes that's not true. We'll make the decision for it. And here we go, distorting truth. The ego uses it to create confusion. Confusion has you call upon something. Confusion will have you call upon something. And you will call upon the ego to what is it called? What word am I looking for? Wow, drew a blank. Absolve your own sins to it. Okay? So the ego's like, yeah, no, it's not your fault, it's their fault. This requires vigilance only as long as you do not recognize what is true. While you believe that two totally contradictory thought systems share truth, your need for vigilance is apparent. Your mind is dividing its allegiance between two kingdoms, and you are totally committed to neither. Your identification with the kingdom is totally beyond the question except by you when you are thinking insanely. So the ego's like, it's okay that you don't believe one to be true the whole time. Okay? As long as you think that it's not total, then the ego wins. Okay. What was I just reading? Okay, yeah. You have to give up conflict entirely and all the times, knowing that peace exists right now. That there are no accidents. There are no accidents whatsoever in God's plan. That's our way out. Our way out is that there are no accidents here. I am exactly where I am with this exact situation, with this person in my life, with this thing happening in my life, exactly, perfectly, at the right time, right moment. That will bring us peace. Otherwise, it just goes back to conflict. Conflict goes down a rabbit hole of all sorts of more problems. Okay, we're almost done here. If you want to chime in, feel free to chime in at any point. Okay? 3, 2, 1. Okay. Your mind is dividing its allegiance between two kingdoms, and you are totally committed to neither. Your identification with the kingdom is beyond question except by you when you are thinking insanely. What you are is not established by your perception and is not influenced by it at all. Perceived problems in identification at any level are not problems of fact. They are problems of understanding, since their presence implies a belief that what you are is up to you to decide. That's such a powerful line right there. You think what you are is up for you to decide. The ego believes this totally, being fully committed to it. It is not true. The ego, therefore, is totally committed to untruth, perceiving in total contradiction to the Holy Spirit and to the knowledge of God. You are the light of the world. You are light only. That is what you are. Anything else you've attached to it, whatever problems you think you may have, whatever emotional, health, body, all those problems, that is not you. Any sickness you think you may carry is an attack on God. Yes, we're going to go that extreme. You think you got problems? You think you have a sickness? You think you have an illness? You think you have a lack or a defect anywhere? That's to say, God, you fucked it up. That I am not the light of the world. This is why the Course says, what you are is not up to debate. What you think you are, that may be up for debate. And that's the conflict for us, is that we think we can be something and then we go and achieve to be something else. No. You are always the light. You are always safe. You've always been in the kingdom. You can perceive with meaning only by the Holy Spirit because your being is the knowledge of God. Any belief you accept apart from this will obscure God's voice in you and will therefore obscure God to you. Unless you perceive his creations truly, you cannot know the Creator, since God and his creations are not separate. That means if you perceive your brothers differently, you have perceived God differently. And then you also perceive yourself differently. There is no separation from those things. Not you, not your brothers, not God. So when you misperceive a brother or a sister or somebody, in that moment you can know that you are misperceiving yourself and God. The oneness of the Creator and the creation is your wholeness, your sanity, and your limitless power. This limitless power is God's gift to you because it is what you are. If you dissociate your mind from it, you are perceiving the most powerful force in the universe as if it were weak because you do not believe you are a part of it. Perceived without your part in it, God's creation is seen as weak, and those who see themselves as weakened do attack. The attack must be blind, however, because there is nothing to attack. Therefore, they make up images, perceive them as unworthy, and attack them for their unworthiness. What an epic line right there. Perceived without your part in a God's creation is seen as weak, and those who see themselves as weakened do attack. The attack must be blind, however, because there is nothing to attack. Therefore, they make up images. Every time we attack, we make up an image of something. We perceive them as unworthy, and then we attack them for their unworthiness. We made up their unworthiness, and then we attack their unworthiness. That is what we do. Every time you speak ill of somebody or you judge somebody, that's what we're doing. And from that, we distort and we forget who we are ourselves, and we forget who God is or what God is. That is all the world of the ego. Nothing. It has no meaning. It does not exist. Do not try to understand it, because if you do, you are believing that it can be understood and therefore capable of being appreciated and loved. That would justify its existence, which cannot be justified. You cannot make the meaningless meaningful. This can only be an insane attempt. So we can even go as far as trying to fix or heal an illness or a sickness, mental problems within ourselves. We can say trying to fix those things only justifies what does not exist to exist. You cannot make the meaningless meaningful. This is only an insane attempt. So what we end up trying to do is we make the meaningless sickness of the body. We are not even our body. And because we justify and we give power to the sickness and the illness of our body and of the world, when I say the body, I also mean the whole physical world. Everything that we can perceive with our physical eyes and our physical ears. We try to fix, and we say there's a sickness or something needing to be fixed. We have distorted the meaning, what truly has meaning. Okay, because this has no meaning. Now that we've made meaning of it, we believe in it, and naturally the course is to say that the mind now follows the body. I need my body to be this way, to be healthy, and then my mind can follow. There are all sorts of evidences in this world that, oh, if you can just fix this chemical imbalance in yourself, right, then you'll feel better. But those are all temporary things. Your body is decaying literally every single second. It is changing every single second. So to say that I can take a X amount of supplements or vitamin B, and by all means, do not take this as an attack on anything you believe about supplements, because great, do it. If it gives you peace, do it. Don't perceive this as an attack, right? Because it's not an attack. It's to right our thinking that our mind actually dictates the body. All right? Because you can only believe one is true. Either the mind follows the body, or the body follows the mind. Which one is it? Which one is it? They cannot both be true. The ego's like, no. Sometimes if I focus on gratitude, then everything will change. Sometimes stress makes our body sick. Well, which one is it? Is it the stress that you experience that makes your body sick? Or is your body the one that's sick that causes stress? See, we almost can't even answer that, because as we're going through, we're thinking, oh, wait, there are times where this is true, and then there are times where I believe that is true. That's the confusion. The ego's like, there you go. Just keep doing that. Spend all your time doing all that. The Course is like, none of that shit even matters. It isn't even real. They're meaningless what you're doing, because no matter what, you cannot change what is true, which is the mind was never sick. The body shows us our attachments to things. And if we can perceive our body correctly, it is a learning device for the mind, not vice versa. If you try to fix the body, which is dying every day, it's about to be on its way out. We are in resistance. We are in resistance. Now, I am not saying by all means to just not take care of the body at all. But I'm telling you, as you take care of your mind, your body automatically gets taken care of. We can literally, there are scenarios in which cancer is healed through the mind. Right? If we believe we have to just fix the body, we fix the body and it actually gets sicker because we made it more real. Allowing insanity to enter your mind means that you have not judged sanity as wholly desirable. You don't desire sanity. The Course is like, no, you want to remain confused. You think if you can find the symptom, fix the symptom, then it will be fixed, but it doesn't. If you want something else, you will make something else. But because it is something else, it will attack your thought system and divide your allegiance. You cannot create in this divided state, and you must be vigilant against the state because only peace can be extended. Your divided mind is blocking the extension of the kingdom, and its extension is your joy. If you do not extend the kingdom, you are not thinking with your creator and creating as he creates. So this is that image of God's light is shining onto you. And your joy and your purpose comes from allowing that light and shining it through to others. You blocking it and thinking there is something wrong with this vehicle that's supposed to shine the light through, you blocking it causes the lack of joy. Distorts your memory of God. Distorts your memory of yourself. And then you make the meaningless meaningful. Right? It must be something wrong with this vehicle that isn't allowing the light to shine through. That's not the problem. Because it only happens through thought. Through thought, we can get out of the way. Surrender. What is my purpose? What's my function? Surrender to it. I won't decide where the light goes. See, we think the light comes to us, and now we have a responsibility to shine it in the right places. We attached more meaning that we made up about the conduit that is us. Your only job is just to let the light through. That's how we find our greatest calling, our greatest purpose is, let me just let the light shine through. Let me stop deciding where it goes and where it doesn't go. And through that surrender, that's the peace of God that we are looking for. But we think, man, if I just shined it here and I shined it there, then I'm going to find it. Then I'm going to find my purpose and my calling. No, it's not up to you. Shining on the whole goddamn thing. In this depressing state, the Holy Spirit reminds you gently that you are sad because you are not fulfilling your function as a co-creator with God and therefore depriving yourself of joy. This is not God's choice, but yours. If your mind could be out of accord with God's, you would be willing without meaning. Yet, because God's will is unchangeable, no conflict of will is even possible. This is the Holy Spirit's perfect, consistent teaching. Creation, not separation, is your will because it is God's, and nothing that opposes this means anything at all. Being a perfect accomplishment, the sonship can only accomplish perfectly, extending the joy in which it was created, and identifying itself with both its creator and its creations, knowing that they are one. So from vigilance to peace, you are vigilant about your function, about what you are. That's it. And then from that place, we find peace, that this is the light that we shine. Everything else, every single ideal and philosophy you hold right now is not the truth with a capital T. Only in the present moment. See, all those things come from the past. Come from your experiences, what you made to be true. In this present moment, all things are possible. That's the power of right now. That's the power of this moment. And that's the only thing that exists. Is like right here, right now. In the shifting of your mind from past, future to present is where all the miracles lie. We have a tendency and a wanting to call upon the past so we can imprison the present and the future, so that the future becomes more of the past. And we're like, yeah, we really don't like it, but you know what? This is how it is. And we just keep trapping our future so that our future can be more of like the past. Everything you hold up to this point, if it's not pure love and pure light, if it has any constriction at all, it isn't wholly true. And it's safe and it's okay to let go of it. You do not have to be who you were thought to be 5 minutes ago, 20 seconds ago, 1 second ago. It is safe. And that's what the Course is saying. It will require your vigilance for it. Oh, wow. That reading went on for a long time. But let's just like for a couple of minutes here. Anybody want to share anything? Any thoughts? It was a lot. I felt like it was a lot to take in. Any shares? Anybody want to share what's alive?
I'd like to say something.
Oh, sorry guys. What's alive with you? That was amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Nelson. Appreciate you being here. Go ahead, Helen.
I agree, Alex. I've been sitting here cracking myself up. I'm going out today, and I'm going to tell in my mind, every single moment, I am the light, and I just want to see what's going to come up against me. I'm just so like hyped up about this.
That's
Thank you
awesome.
very much.
Oh yeah, thank you. We won't be like, I am the light, and then somebody cuts us off while we're drawing. You freaking asshole.
Yeah. That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, keep track of it.
Yeah.
How long my light's gonna last.
And the thing about that is to like have fun with it, right? You can totally be in a relationship. You can shine the light because your judgment can even be a light. That's an opportunity right there, right? Like we're like, oh shit, I did it again. And then it could be funny. It could be great. You just change your relationship to all the things. The Course says that all the suffering came when the Son of God forgot to laugh. The tiny mad idea that we can somehow be anything other than light, love, and God, we forgot to laugh at that thought. We took it seriously.
Yeah.
So if we judge ourselves in that moment, don't forget to laugh. Otherwise, it's just too serious. And then it becomes real.
I'm going to spread the word. I'm going to tell everybody else. The light that's in you, you are the light. See what they have to say about that.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Just a couple more minutes. Anybody want to share anything else? Let's see any comments on social media.
I'd like to share.
Yeah, please.
Is my microphone working? It was saying it's not working.
It is working. We see you. We hear you. We love you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am taking little notes because I realized how many times I've been around of delusionary thinking in my own conscious space. I've had some people pass away during COVID and just different things occur, but I also had one of my friends what felt like a betrayal. And it put me in this state of thinking. I had introduced her to my business partner, and they formed a dating relationship and dated for 9 months, and I was kind of left in the dark. So it felt a little bit off also because I didn't mind if they date. So it was just very strange to me. And I'm also a seer and a hearer, which I believe is a magical gift of God. It's also something that it's very important for me to contain my mind and do the mental health work and to stay sane and to keep sacred people around me. But right when that betrayal happened, I literally, and during the 9 months of feeling betrayed, I was feeling knives in my back. I was feeling metaphysically a lot of physical hits to my body. As we get more to our gifts, it feels like you just feel a little bit more in depth. So my body was having reactions, my belt of truth, my stomach was swollen, and I wasn't listening to my internal guidance that have a conversation because my intuition was telling me what was going on. And so once I had revelation of the truth, I went into this very delusionary way of thinking, as if I wasn't worthy of the truth. I put her into a very dark field. It felt so dark to me because I didn't understand, why can't the truth be the light? And it's so beautiful because I feel like I'm closing this round of delusionary thinking. And I had thought I closed it a while ago. And a lot of things have come up recently just with my ability to know I am loved. Someone not sharing a truth with you has nothing to actually do with an individual. And it was also my ability to see her in the wrong was my own wrong. So it was just this like massive mirror effect. And I wanted to share, I put on my notes, I'm at the tail end of this delusionary thinking round. This round, you know, it'll happen again.
This
I'm
round.
sure, but for today, I'm so thankful for this call. It's so beautiful also to step away from the ego. As we connect more to our spirit, it's important to be sacred to the spirit. And so this is what this call reminded me of, and I love seeing everyone on the call. And Alex, thank you so much for constant revelation.
Thank you for sharing. You know, forgiveness recognizes what. Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so forgiveness recognizes what you thought your brother did to you has not occurred. This betrayal, these knives in the back, like they are that delusion, that illusion that you're making up, that somehow you could be even possibly be attacked. You know, is to recognize that it has not occurred. Doesn't pardon any sins or anything like that, but it's to recognize that they did not sin at all. Right? Everybody is doing the best they can, and it's perfect. That union, your introduction, and everything is perfectly, divinely orchestrated. The stabbing in the back, the idea that my brothers or sisters can stab me in the back is to say that God, you got this wrong. That's why the Course says it is an attack on God when you attack your brothers and sisters. And who are we to say that and to make that judgment? Right? So yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I too have experienced what I felt like it was a betrayal. Okay. Well, any last thoughts? Anybody else just feel...
My heart is so open. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Anybody else feel very compelled to share anything before we wrap this up? All right. Well, most likely we will not have a call this Sunday. Sad face. But yeah, much love and blessings to everybody. Okay, and I'll put some posts in our chats for words of inspiration from the Course throughout the week. And thank you all so much for taking the time out to be here with us. I'm going to take a second here to read the things in the chat. The words behind the words. Want to know what love is? Oh, great. All right. So much love to everybody. I can't wait to see some of you guys I'm going to see this week. And yeah. Till next time, y'all. Much love and blessings.